Okay, so we all watch these football superstars, right? Absolute magicians on the pitch. But have you ever really stopped to think about where they come from? Not just the club, but where they're actually made. Well, we're about to dive deep into England's incredible football factory. So yeah, where do these world-class players actually emerge from? You know, it's so easy to just assume it's pure raw talent. Like some kid just wakes up one day and is a genius with a ball at their feet. But honestly, the real story, it's way more fascinating than that.
And here's the kicker, and it might surprise you. It's not just about talent. It's about geography. Yeah, seriously. Where you grow up can literally dictate whether you become a football star. Some places are just different. They're like these hotbeds, these factories, churning out top-tier players one after another.
All right, let's make this real. I want to show you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. We're going to zoom in on this tiny little area just south of Manchester. A place has become a serious engine room for English football.
Think about England's squad for Euro 2024. You've got Phil Foden, Kobe Mainoo, and Cole Palmer. I mean, come on, three of the most exciting, creative players we have. And guess what? They were all born within just a few miles of each other in South Manchester. It's wild. And it's no accident that you'd hear them in interviews talking about their old grassroots clubs. So how does that even happen? How do you get that much talent in one spot? Well, Phil Foden's very first coach, a guy named Joe Malakin, put it perfectly. He called it a hotbed. The whole area is just this intense pre-academy ecosystem. The competition is fierce, and the scouting is on another level. He said there are literal queues of scouts at games. Think about that. Nothing is left to chance. It's almost impossible for a talented kid to get missed there.
Okay, so this incredible local scene, this intensity, it doesn't just stay local. It plugs directly into a much bigger machine, a national system that's been built to find and polish these diamonds in the rough. And that system is the modern football academy.
And, you know, this whole academy thing isn't some century-old tradition. It's actually pretty new. The big shift happened back in 1997. The FA basically said, hey, let's get the most promising kids out of their regular school teams and into professional setups. Then, fast forward 2011, and they turbocharged the whole thing with something called the EPPP. That created this tiered system we have now, and basically let the biggest clubs scout kids from all over the country.
So, just so we're all on the same page, what exactly is an academy? It's pretty straightforward. It's a youth program that's run by a professional football club. They go out, they scout kids, and we're talking kids as young as 9, and they bring them into this super intensive training world. The one big goal? To create the next superstar for their first team.
But here's where it gets a little more complicated. There are really two goals here, and they're not always perfectly aligned. On the one hand, you have the romance of it, right? Creating homegrown heroes who bleed the club's colors. But on the other hand, it's a business, a big business. In fact, a study found that about half of all clubs openly admit that a major objective is just to make money by developing players and then selling them on for a profit.
And this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. Because for all the money, for all the science and organization that goes into this system, the reality for the kids who are actually in it, well, it's brutal. The numbers are just staggering.
Get ready for this. 1 in 200. Just let that sink in for a second. For every 200 kids who get that golden ticket to a top academy when they're 9 years old, only one of them will ever make it as a pro. That's it. And it doesn't get much better even if you make it further down the line. Let's say you're good enough to earn a youth contract at 16. Even then, a huge 75% of those players are completely out of the professional game by the time they're 21. It's like a giant funnel, and the opening at the bottom is tiny.
So why? Why are the odds so insane? It really boils down to one fundamental, maybe unavoidable flaw. The entire system is based on trying to predict the future. And as one expert put it, and they said it 3 times to make the point, we can't predict future ability. You just can't. You can't look at a 9-year-old and know for sure what kind of athlete they'll be at 21. It's impossible.
And on top of that, the system has these built-in biases. The most famous one is called the relative age effect. It's pretty simple. Kids born early in the school year, say January to March, are often just physically bigger and more developed than the kids born in November or December. And so guess what? They get picked way more often.
the smaller, later-born kids get left behind, even if their technical skill is just as good or even better.
And that's exactly why the human stuff, the grit, the determination, is so important. I mean, look at Harry Kane. Arsenal let him go as a kid because he was a late mature. Basically, he was a bit small. Spurs took a chance on him specifically because they were looking for players the system might have missed. Or how about Andros Townsend? Spurs released him, but he was so stubborn, so determined. He literally just kept turning up to training anyway until they had to re-sign him. The system almost lost two incredible players.
So, we know the system isn't perfect, and we know geography is a huge deal. So let's zoom out from Manchester. Where else are these talent factories? When you look at the whole of the UK, a really clear pattern starts to show up.
Yeah, the numbers here really do tell the story. Look at this. Greater London is just in a world of its own. 251 pro players. That's more than double the next region, which is Greater Manchester. It's obvious, right? The big cities are the real powerhouses.
And if we drill down even deeper into London, it gets even crazier. You can pinpoint specific boroughs that are basically talent production lines. Take Newham, for example. It's produced 20 different England internationals, and between them, they have over 300 caps for their country. I mean, that one borough is a more prolific talent pool than most entire counties.
So when you put all this together, the intense scouting, the high stakes, the money, the sheer organization of it all, it forces you to ask a pretty big question. Are we actually developing talent here, or are we just manufacturing a product?
The great Dennis Bergkamp, a player who was all about creativity, worried about this exact thing. He basically asked, if you overcoach these kids, if you tell them exactly what to do and where to be at all times, how do they ever learn to think for themselves? How can they be unique? He said, you can't be special if you're just doing the same thing as 10 other players. And that's a really powerful point, isn't it?
And that really gets to the heart of this big philosophical split. Is the whole point just about the outcome? To produce a first-team player no matter what? Or is it about the process? You see clubs like AC Milan, whose youth philosophy is literally, you cannot be a good player if you don't become a decent person first. It's a totally different way of looking at it.
Look, there's no denying it. This system, this football factory, it's an incredible machine. It has given us some of the most gifted players on the planet. But here's the final thought I want to leave you with. In this relentless hunt for the next superstar, as we try to make the machine even more efficient, are we in danger of forgetting to build the person inside the player? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.